afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this council meeting of Tuesday, 9th of December 2025 at the Euroa Community Conference Centre. I'm Councillor Scott Jeffrey, Mayor of Strathbogie Shire Council. I'm chairing today's meeting. Before we proceed, Councillor Vicky Halsell will reinforce our council vision and values.
Councillor Vision, we will be a councillor group that delivers valuable outcomes for our community through teamwork characterised by respectful debate, collaboration and the commitment to being inclusive and transparent. Our values are respect, integrity, accountability, transparency and responsiveness.
It's true.
Item 2, acknowledgement of traditional owners. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the places we live, work and play. We recognise and respect the enduring relationship they have with their lands and waters. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. As per Strathbogie Shire Council governance rules and legislation, in accordance with the Local Government Act 2020, notices relating to privacy, governance principles, voting and meeting procedure are given as read, as printed in today's agenda. Item 5. Apologies and leaves of absence. Are there any apologies or leaves of absence for today's meeting? We have Deputy Mayor Claire Ewart-Kennedy as an apology.
Deputy.
Councillors, on to item 6, disclosure of conflicts of interest. Councillors, I'll take all papers as being read. That being the case, are there any disclosures of conflicts of interest? No. On to item 7 on page 7. Confirmation of minutes and decisions of the previous meeting. Confirmation of the minutes and decisions of the statutory meeting held on the 18th of December 2025 and confirmation of the minutes and decisions of the council meeting held on the 18th of December 2025. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Can I have a motion, please? And can you state what your motion is?
So moved, Mr. Mayor. My recommendation is that the minutes of the statutory meeting held on the 18th of November 2025 be confirmed as true and accurate record of the meeting. That the minutes of the council meeting held on the 18th of November 2025 be confirmed as true and accurate record of the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Banks. Is there any opposition to the motion? No opposition. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? It's carried. Moving on to item 8, petitions. There are nil. Moving on to item 9.1. Mayor's report. My first few weeks as Mayor have been a whirlwind of meetings, community events, advocacy and media interviews. When I was elected last month, I promised to listen to the community, strengthen relationships and demonstrate transparency and accountability. So I'm pleased to report one of my first official duties as Mayor was meeting community members at Couple with a Councillor session in Greytown. The community extended a very warm welcome to Councillor Stevens and me, with about 20 community members sitting down with us at the Greytown Community Centre. We discussed a range of topics including overhanging trees, roadside vegetation, rural and residential land use and the Greytown Community Centre Facility Management Agreement. Pilot Town Couple with a Councillor was held last week and that was the final one of the year. Councillors Halsell, Stevens and Binks represented the council at that event. We'll hear more about that from them later in the meeting. These have been important engagement opportunities for councillors this year. It's been enlightening and sometimes challenging for councillors to hear directly from residents about their concerns and issues. And it's always wonderful to hear some positive feedback. One of the best parts of being a councillor is being able to travel around the Shire and meeting with members of our community. And I look forward to doing more of that in the new year. Another of the highlights of the past month was joining more than 100 members of the Avenel community for a rally on the 29th of November where we called for the state government to fund $3.1 million in urgent rail safety upgrades. I was joined at that event by Councillor Stevens, Carlson and Ewart Kennedy and council officers. I'd also like to thank local MPs Sam Birrell and Ricky Lee Tyrrell, who attended and pledged to support our efforts to secure safer rail crossings in the township. Rail safety in Avenel is one of the key priorities in our advocacy strategy, and this event was a fabulous example of community advocacy at its best. The council is right behind Avenel Active, and we're not going to stop until our kids get safely to school. Last Wednesday night, I was honoured to present the graduation certificates for the 2025 Community Leadership Program. This was the first time council has offered a community leadership program, which was made possible with support from Emergency Recovery Victoria. As well as the importance of integrity, inclusion, accountability and collaboration in leadership, the syllabus included leading through emergencies and strengthening local resilience. The participants came from a number of townships across the Shire, including Crichtons Creek, Mypole, Strathbogie, Violettown, Gurrum, Avenel, Euroa and Nagambie. All of these communities should be very proud of the graduates. I can assure you the future of Strathbogie is very bright with such talented and passionate young people stepping up to lead in their communities. At the end of November, Deputy Mayor Claire Ewart Kennedy and I undertook our compulsory mayoral and deputy mayoral training. The program is directly aligned with the mandatory regulatory requirements outlined in the Victorian government, outlined by the Victorian government in its new governance and integrity regulations. As well as refining our skills, the program presented an opportunity for mayors and deputy mayors from across Victoria to foster and strengthen connections and establish support networks at the beginning of the term. As we head into December, my fellow councillors and I hope we'll see you at one of the end of the year Christmas events that are planned across the Shire. All the details are on the website. What a wonderful way to end the year, as well as support the organisations and volunteers who run these events. As this is Council's last meeting before Christmas, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all of the residents of Strathbogie a very happy Christmas and a prosperous and safe new year. Please enjoy the time with family and friends, and I hope you all get to rest and recover after what has been a long and at times challenging year for many in our community. Stay safe, enjoy all the wonderful things our Shire has to offer, and see you all in 2026. Finally, before we move on to councillor reports, I'd like to make a very special presentation to one of our councillors. I'd like to present Councillor Carlson with 2 Victorian Councillor Service Awards, 10 years of service and Mayor Emeritus. The Municipal Association of Victoria provides these 2 Councillor Service Awards, recognising the contribution that councillors make to their communities. Councillor Carlson has held various leadership roles over more than 14 years as a councillor, serving across 3 councils between 1990 and 2008. And of course, he returned as a councillor when he was elected to Strathbogie 12 months ago. His impressive resume includes 4 terms as Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Carlson for his dedication to his communities and personally for the friendship, wisdom and advice he has generously shared with me over the past year. Definitely something you prepared earlier. Congratulations. Thank you very much. We'll move on to item 9.2, councillor reports. Are there any councillors who would like to report on their activity for the past month? Councillor Halson.
Thank you. The year in review. I'm still coming to terms with being a councillor and all that comes with the role. I don't see the power that others talk about, and I'm still the same person I was when I started, but I honour the opportunity I have at the table to represent my community. I have found this first 12 months challenging, both in volume of information and the rate I've charged myself to consume it. In the first meeting, I was asked why I ran for council, and my response was to challenge the default. To some, it wasn't understood, but to me, it was quite clear. To find the why and to prosecute the how. just because it is doesn't mean it should be. It is this that fuels my engagement in every briefing. My greatest achievement in my eyes this year has been bringing the growth and rural residential planning strategies to the councillors' table. I believe these two strategies have a very significant role to play in the future of our municipality. I have enjoyed the opportunity to sit around the table and develop both personally and as a council group. So that's just my personal reflection. This month I attended the Violet Town Cuppa with a councillor, which was very enjoyable. I met Neil, Hank, Robbie, Ray, and one other resident whose name escapes me right now. I was really pleased to be sought out personally by Neil to discuss planning strategies. I want to congratulate the Violet Town community on their preparedness to test recommendations that were made in the urban growth and rural res strategies. They seem to be very constructive. And their idea is to challenge the recommendation that infill is appropriate in Violet Town by holding their own community forums, which I thought was a really good idea. I met Hank, a recent local of 6 years, I believe, investing into his community in halls and gardens. He took the time to discuss with me the historic and active possum infestation at the community hall, the asbestos and the aged toilet facilities, and the lack of signage to the RV dump site, which I was like, okay. I also had an avid conversation with Robbie Ray about local community fundraising to support the school swimming program. The state government chips in $40 per student. To her calculation, the Violet Town school cost was $214 per student. In Violet Town, learning to swim is so important that the community are looking for council support and local fundraising to support a successful school swimming program. Robbie also shared that she had worked with the school and Belgravia to schedule swim times that were most economical. And we talk about at council cost shifting from state to local government, but in this instance, I think it's state to community. Learning to swim is a fundamental responsibility in our education system, local government and the community. I attended the Roads Congress in November. I learned all sorts of things. I felt like I was sitting with my people, surrounded by engineers. A totally different experience to the planning forum that I attended. I networked with engineers from Geelong, people providing online platforms for road condition assessments and using AI in a very clever way. I heard Rupert Hoskin, he was my standout speaker, talking about leadership in communities and the importance of people in industrial development, the importance of finding common ground with community and asking fundamental questions prior to decision making. He talked about keeping projects operating and taking risks, but his question was, do we have all the information to make this decision? Across the country, there was talk about road and there were shires sharing that they supported road funding models per kilometre, which I think is in alignment with us. Macedon Rangers had a wildlife strike submission in the road safety. I was very interested in the talk about Vision Zero, which is a road safety strategy and increasing safety and reducing road toll to zero. I took the opportunity to ask, why isn't the impact of roadside vegetation as an attractant to native animals part of the review, rather than a focus on reducing speed limits? It was a really valuable couple of days trying to understand the thinking and the industry views on roads and where we're going with sustainability and infrastructure. And I thank the council for the opportunity for my attendance. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Nelson. Yeah, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Mine will be very brief. I don't always report back each month, even though I'm out there doing things, but I think this month I'd like to because it's so diverse. As the mayor has mentioned, we had Cuppa with a councillor in Greytown, which was absolutely fabulous. Great little community and good feedback. We had the Violet Town Cuppa with a councillor. Once again, great small community and fabulous feedback. So thank you to those that attended. The Avenel Crossing, once again, the mayor has touched on that. The community turned out in droves. It was just fabulous. So I really hope that together we can get something constructive out of this. Road Safety Committee Goulburn Valley. I went to that last Friday with Director McNulty. I had the pleasure of introducing our new director to them. The advantage of that particular committee is, apart from the fact that it deals with road safety, it's got fabulous representation from other councils such as Moira and Shepparton and our Shire, but it also has representatives of Department of Transport and other partners that are brilliant to be able to network with and build relationships with. So that's a fabulous committee to be on. The Nagambie Carols was held last weekend. The turnout was just absolutely amazing. I don't know what the numbers were, but there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So once again, congratulations to those that organised that. And there was a meeting last night online. It was the PCCC, which I'm calling it the PCCC. It's the Police Community Consultative Committee is what I refer to it as, which is starting up again. This is another committee that is representative of all things police. They call it the Mitchell PSA, which is the Mitchell Police Service Area, but it actually services Mitchell Shire and Strathbogie Shire, and all the statistics and issues are related to both. So I look forward to seeing that advance further. Just one very quick thing, going back to Violet Town, thanks to Catherine, who comes to these events with us, the council, the couple with councillor. She's just absolutely amazing, the work she does and the note taking, and she's just brilliant. And I didn't get out of Violet Town until about 3 o'clock, even though officially we'd finished, I don't know, 1 o'clock-ish, I think. 12?
Until
Okay, well, I got out at 3 with my wallet a little bit lighter. But I continued to speak with the community while I had the opportunity and had a wonderful day. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. The other councillors have a report. Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. Also at the Violet Town Cuppa with the councillor, which was really great. I shan't speak too much more because it's already been spoken about quite extensively by my colleagues. But I think the highlight events for me last week, it was a pretty busy week, was the leadership graduation night. Was just really so inspiring to see these 11 diverse leaders from right across the Shire share with us what they had learned over the course of their fairly intensive leadership program that just seemed to just really inspire them. And I think that it's really rewarding and encouraging to see that kind of energy come from community members. And I think what I really loved about it was they were just so genuine and really leading with their heart. It was a really amazing evening, and I want to thank the council for assisting in making that happen. I know that Annette, one of the staff here, did put a lot into it to making it successful, and I know that our directors were also heavily involved, and I really thank them for doing that, because I think we've really created a really great community of people that understand council better and everything that we have to do, but also are really interested in working within the community broadly, both, that sort of connection between the council organisation, the group of councillors, and all the different communities that they work in, represent, and are in their emergency service roles in those communities. And it was just, really inspiring. And then on Saturday morning, I joined the mayor in Nagambie at the park run, which we walked. I'm a happy walker, not a happy runner, which was, we partnered with Nagambie Park Run for the 16 days of activism against family-based violence. And it was an incredible turnout. I was at it last year with Mayor Ewan Kennedy when she was the mayor. And I'd say we've doubled numbers for our second year in terms of getting people turn up, and some really great feedback from the community that turned up to that. I think it's a really important thing to remember that family-based violence happens in our communities. We are not immune to it, and we need to be working with our communities to support them. And I just really thank the community that came out and supported that. It was a really well-attended event, and we're great to be a part of. Thank you.
Councillor Binks. Any other councillors have a report? Councillor Carlson.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, once again, like 3 of the fellow councillors went to the Avenel rail crossing, which was interesting in the sense the community is very united, focused and determined, as they should be, for what is an obvious problem, which is simply hasn't been addressed for literally years and years. In terms of the Golden Valley Library, which continues to go on, we've gone through a shortlisting, interviewing and an appointment process for a Chief Executive Officer who will commence in January, as well as nominating this evening a community representative to be sitting on the board, which will be happening later on. I'd like to thank yourself and the officers that have been conspiring to raise these awards. Just a few short words. I started in 1990 when mobile phones could only make phone calls. And internet didn't exist really, with a few vehicles running around with www on the side of their doors, and no one really knew what that meant. My observations are that it's a more challenging job now. The amount of information you have to digest is vastly more than what was done in my heyday. There's less crazy people in council chambers now, I find, which is pleasing. And I can cast an eye over the gallery there, and I'm sure there's a few people who would be able to identify with my comments. But nevertheless, it's a very challenging position because we are a creature of the state government. That's reality. That's where we live. And that's a challenging relationship we have in terms of financial support programs, things of that nature. It's much, much more complicated, complex than what it used to be. But thank you all for the honour. I suppose it is an honour. Maybe it just shows you I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know what you can read into it. But thank you all, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Move on now to item 10, public questions. Thanks to all those people who submitted questions for the meeting today. And a reminder that your questions must be lodged 30 hours prior to the meeting, and no person may submit more than 2 questions in any one meeting. In accordance with the governance rules, clause 35.8 relating to the chair disallowing questions, this will be enacted. We will now proceed with our public questions. Our first questions have been received from Robin Weatherall. Robin, would you like to read your questions, or can I read them on your behalf?
You may read them on my behalf.
Thank you very much. Question 1. Will Council draft the new budget now under consideration in a way that delivers improvement in value for ratepayers' dollars expended? Strathbogie Shire ratepayers appreciate our Council's commitment to sustainability when drafting our annual budget. Now, response. Thank you, Robin, for your question. The short answer is yes. Fiscal responsibility is always front of mind when developing a council budget. With costs continuing to rise, it's increasingly challenging for our council to balance service delivery with the expectations within the available budget. That's why we're currently asking the community to provide their input on what they'd like to see included in council's 26-27 budget. If you have any feedback, please visit council's website via the Share Strathbogie portal. Be quick as submissions close tomorrow.
God heavens.
Question 2. Noted council's improvements to current state-of-the-art truck wash in Euroa. Will council address the angle of attack, the ramp angle that allows waste product to be efficiently washed out of the trucks using facility in a time-efficient manner? Will the new motor have sufficient power to wash waste downhill out of trucks and also at the same time pump waste from the pit uphill to the processing area without spillage and overflow into adjacent property? What testing has new high-power pump undergone to prove its capacity to handle the job? My answer is council currently have contractors working to make a truck wash operational. This includes replacing and upgrading the pump house, the rising main, as well as a new 3-phase pump. The ramps as constructed are fit for purpose and will not be amended. The new pump will be more powerful than the pumps replaced and will be sufficient to pump all material into the holding tank. The pump selected has been built specifically for this project, taking into consideration the material from the truck wash and the distance required to pump. The next questions come from Tom Ma. Tom, would you like to read your questions or can I read them on your behalf?
You may read out, you made more clearer of the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Question 3 is around Harry's Creek Road. What is the up-to-date works procedure on the above road and the costs to date on this project? Thanks for your question, Tom. Officers have been working with the Department of Transport and Emergency Recovery Victoria to develop an eligible design response to the road damage that occurred on Harry's Creek Road as a result of the storm event in October 2022. This eligible design is close to sign-off by the relevant authority and will progress in early 2026. To date, approximately $320,000 has been spent on design, temporary works, and traffic control. These costs are recovered by the disaster funding arrangements, and the approved design will be included in Council Capital Works program for delivery. Question 4 is around committees of management, and it's please list the committees of management in the Shire. Council works with a number of committees of management who support the management of our community facilities. They include the Avenel Memorial Hall Committee, Boho South Hall Committee, Crichtons Creek Recreation Reserve Committee, Euroa Friendlies Reserve Committee, Gurrum Soldiers Memorial Hall, Greytown Community Inc., Longwood Community Centre, Mypole Public Hall, Mogalanembi Hall Committee, Nagambie Recreation Reserve, Ruffy Recreation Reserve Committee, Tableland Community Centre, Strathbogie Memorial Hall, Strathbogie Recreation Reserve Committee, Shadforth Reserve Committee, Violet Town Hall Committee, and Boho South Hall. Each committee is an incorporated association and is required to enter into a lease or license with council to manage these facilities. Before we conclude question time, Marie, I note that you have submitted 2 questions for today's meeting. As chair, I've determined under section 35.8 of the Strathbogie Shire Council governance rules that both questions are disallowed. I understand you've been in contact with council officers previously about the topics you've raised. Please contact the Chief Executive Officer if you wish to discuss further, and you will receive an email from our Director of People and Governance. Moving on now to item 11, officer reports on page 8. Item 11.1, strategic and statutory planning. Councillors, there are no strategic and statutory planning reports, so we'll move to the next item on page 9. 11.2.1, aquatic facility management and operations procurement authorisation. The purpose of this report is to consider the future management model of Strathbogie Shire pools and to authorise the procurement process to secure these services for season 26-27 and beyond. Councillors, we have a recommendation. Is there a motion, and can you state your motion? Councillor Hudson.
I would like the recommendation on page 9 to become the motion.
You, Councillor Hudson, can I have a seconder? Councillor. Motion opposed. Or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion?
I'd like to speak to it.
Councillor Hudson.
The management of pools is a considerable investment in the order of 450,000. Councils listen to community and try to incorporate feedback, including flexibility with daily hours, season starts and finish times, and employing local labour. There's also been discussion about learn to swim programs, school swimming, lap swimming and broad communities. This 25-26 season, council has put an emphasis on gate entry and understanding user counts to increase the accuracy of the data we use for decision making. If there are any community members listening, please make sure your attendance is logged every time you visit the pool. While I would much rather see our pools managed by local people, it seems that there isn't an interest in this to bring it to fruition, and I'm reassured that the market is all moving to outsourcing management and therefore support the officers moving forward on that basis.
Councillor Halsall. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll speak to the motion. Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. Yeah, I mean, we know our pools are really well loved, and we also know that they, as Councillor Halsall has mentioned, they do cost us money, but they're a really important part of our community fabric, and it would be great to see, you know, like what are the options out there when we do go through this procurement process, and what options can we come back with? I think, you know, just looking at our forward calendar of events, there's a whole lot of youth pool parties that happen at the pool during the summer. I know that they are a really popular place for so many of us that don't have our own pools to go out and hang out in the summertime. And so I'm really excited to see that there is a process by which we can continue offering the great offering that are right across the Strathbogie Shire Council. Thanks.
Thank you. Would any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Just in support of what's already been said, there was community engagement in relation to this. There was a community survey conducted, key stakeholder meetings with Friends of the Pools and a community roundtable. That all occurred back in September and November of 2025. We wanted to hear what the community had to say about these facilities. From a council point of view, they are an ageing asset, they are an expensive asset, but they are a highly valued asset. They are so important to our community. Our communities don't have the bowling alleys, they don't have the movie theatres, well, they do have one here, which is fabulous, but they don't have the other entertainment avenues that a lot of other towns have. So the pool is significant in that it's not just the health and well-being, it's also the cooling down on a hot day, and it's also a gathering point, social connection. So they are really valued both by us and the community. I think it's fabulous that the hours are being proposed to go a little bit later, because our seasons are changing. The heat is coming later in the day. I think it's fabulous that they're going to be open from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m, 12 p.m. till 7 p.m. And there will be opportunities for morning swims as well, 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. at certain times, certain days. As for the running of them, yes, we have had an element of the community that want to be involved, but unfortunately, it's not as simple as we might like to think. There's a lot of legislative constraints. There's a lot of technical testing of the waters that has to be done, lifesavers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So after weighing up all the information that the staff have brought to us, and thank you to the staff for looking into this so thoroughly, it is recommended that we go with a contract for the management of our pools into the future. So I support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving now to page 30, item 11.2.2, Strategic Funding Agreement, APS Heads of the River. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval to enter into a strategic partnership funding agreement between Strathbogie Shire Council and APS to support the delivery of the APS Heads of the River event in 2026 in Nagambie. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No? Is there a motion, and can you please state what your motion is? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Council 1 authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute a 1-year strategic partnership funding agreement with the Associated Public Schools, APS, to support the delivery of the Heads of the River 2026 rowing event up to a value of $13,000 excluding GST. 2, notes that this may comprise in-kind contributions through the waiver of associated hire fees and/or event staffing.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Howson. Councillor Holloway, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'd like to move an amendment, please, Mr. Mayor.
Right.
That my amendment just revolves around the actually amount of money, and I move that $5,536.25 be increased to $10,000.
Okay, can we have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Stevens.
So line was 13,000, not 5,500. So how is he amending it from 5,000?
Said 10,000.
So the motion,
Yeah, I stand corrected. I think Councillor Holloway is quite correct. I was reading from the original resolution, which had already been changed. I'd like to amend my amendment to read that it be, instead of $13,000 that Councillor Holloway listed, that it be reduced to $10,000 in my amendment. He's technically correct. I put the wrong figure in.
okay, can we have a seconder for the motion?
And just just a point of clarification, if I may. The other points that councillor Holloway referenced stay, it's just the figure that is changed.
No, it's just the figure.
Second that. Thank you.
Okay, councillor Carlson, would you like to speak?
Yeah, look, we have a situation here. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a situation here which has been going on now for 30 years. I think the 31st year is next March. My memory serves correctly. Rowing course at its first regatta. Going General Sir William Dean in 1996. And we have a restraint on our budgets like every other organisation, and we are trying to move to a more sustainable, equitable support level. There's already been significant negotiations carried out by the officers of the council in terms of realigning the level of support we have for this function, for this event. And I think that this is a two-step process to get us back to what I would consider a constant and even-handed approach to supporting these events on the lake. That's basically my reason for the amendment, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Would any other councillors like to speak to the amendment?
I'd like to speak against it. But we might.
So I'll reserve my right, thanks.
Councillor Vinks.
Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. I am not in support of the amendment to reduce it to 10,000. I think that we have a recommendation in our papers, whilst that is not the recommendation that's been moved by Councillor Holloway. We have a recommendation that the officers have brought to us, which is, I would believe, an even-handed and equitable, possibly. I'm still unsure about that, offering to the organisation in which for them to exercise this event on Lake Ngambie using the facilities that we offer in that waivering of fee model. And I don't believe that we're in a position to be offering further services, be those monetary or in kind, to an organisation when we ourselves are, we're all experiencing increase of costs. It's not just costs of living, it's the cost of doing business. We know that the cost to keep our graders on the road, the material that we use to maintain our facilities that we have to supply for the whole community are constantly going up. You just listed off all the committees of management that manage our incredible facilities right across the Shire. I mean, we struggle to maintain the facilities that we have, and have incredible committees volunteer their time and energy and often funds to keep in a usable space. So for me to be proposing the money to an outside organisation that, in looking at the economic uplift that it brings to the region for that one day, is very minimal, I just can't support it in all the other costs that this organisation has facing. I think we've seen, Disca Hansel has spoken continuously about the need for fiscal responsibility, and so increasing the value, I just don't see as a responsible move by council
Councillor Binks, anyone else like to speak to the amendment? Councillor Halson.
Amendment. I would like to amend the amendment.
Seek some clarification on this one.
Take a minute.
We need to carry the amendment all the way through and either be lost or carried.
Can I just seek some guidance then? Why is it when a motion doesn't have to go through the same process, but amendment does have to
It's probably a good idea if we revisit that.
at a
In
different
another
time?
forum,
Yeah,
if that's good.
yeah, that's definitely a deficit for me.
Councillor Stevens, did you want to speak?
I just clarify for councillor Halsall. So once this amendment is either lost or carried, there is an opportunity for yourself to introduce another amendment, should you wish to, but you need a seconder for that amendment.
Could I speak then, given I just asked my question?
You can speak to the amendment
I can speak to the amendment.
as proposed.
After hearing councillor Binks, I've been reflecting on the economic data that was provided by officers. The evaluation of 22 weekends from the beginning of 2025, including the APS event, determined an average spend of 192,000 as best we could identify. The APS weekend was 215K, and the net benefit that we could interpret, deduce, whatever you want to say, it was 23,000. So whatever council offers in support is essentially subsidising the economic benefit, just pumping it straight. So in terms of what councillor Binks is saying, I actually can't see that putting our 13,000 or 10,000 extra over and above what our officer is recommending is useful. So I'm speaking against.
Thank you, councillor Halsall. Councillor Stevens.
Any other councillors?
Councillor.
I want to speak against it. Is it like?
Okay, yep, councillor Holloway. Didn't see your hand there.
Hang on, are you, sorry, Mayor Jeffrey, are you speaking for the motion?
Reserve.
Oh, you've reserved your right.
A few seconds. Lost spot.
Yeah.
So just a couple of points. So I'm speaking against the amended motion, reducing it from 13,000 to 10,000. Obviously, I support everything that was not amended. I believe we're splitting hairs here in terms of benefit to the community. 13,000 is what officers have warranted that APS would be satisfied with. So if you reduce that to 10,000, they're not getting what they want. And you are saving, and I'll put that in air quotations, $3,000. But what I really want to say is that I used to do cost benefit analyses for a living, and there is a huge difference between a cash outflow and a calculated amount that officers' time would be worth. You have to consider when you talk, whether you're talking 14,000, 13,000, a million, that is only a cost if and only if council officers can redeploy their efforts elsewhere to make up that amount. If they're just going back to their desk and doing nothing that is making money for the Shire, that's not really a cost because it's a sunk cost. It is a salaried employee. Yes, there are certain extras and overtime and things like that, but at the end of the day, we are talking about salaried employees' time. So reducing it from 13,000 to 10,000, I mean, that is not really a measurable amount, given that these are salaried employees. They're not contract employees. They're not casuals. It seems to me that you are purposefully delivering less than the APS want for zero in actual monetary gain. So I'm against the amendment. Obviously, I'm for in excess of the officer recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Holloway. Councillor Stevens, you're right to reply.
Thank you. Councillor Holloway's comments are noted, as are the other councillors' comments. I think one thing that hasn't been spoken to is that the information received from the officers is that Rowing Victoria are in favour of this event continuing and stepping up their assistance to help the organisation in question, the APS, continue with this operation, with this event. So where there might be some savings here is that our staff per se can step away from certain things and be employed elsewhere doing other work productively. And Rowing Victoria may step in to take on some of those responsibilities. So there may be that economic benefit, but obviously we're not sure about this yet. That's why it's imperative to have this for 12 months to see how it travels, and it can be reviewed within 12 months. I think it's fair and reasonable. I mean, we speak about the economy as it is now. We're talking about people having trouble, in the economic environment that we're in. Events like this are affected by that as well. They're not immune to it. I think the 13,000 that they've had for a number of years is generous. And I think it's time for us to rein our horns in a little bit, but not be too restrictive and too detrimental to ensuring that this significant event continues in the way that it does and hopefully grows. I think it's important to see that the Ngambie Lakes Regatta Centre is more than just a rowing venue. It's a community asset that fosters pride and engagement. The facility attracts tens of thousands of visitors annually, providing opportunities for visitors to experience the region and return for leisure beyond the sporting events. They come to Ngambie, they see what we've got to offer, and they come back at other times, not just when the rowing's on. And I know that for a fact because I've actually spoken to some of these people. It serves as a hub for on-water and social activities, offering amenities that few regional towns can match. And the venue enhances community value, creates opportunity for your local clubs and groups to fundraise during major events, and strengthens Ngambie's identity as a vibrant destination. We're talking where APS sit in relation to this in the heads of the river rowing regatta primarily. It is a significant event for Ngambie. It does bring economic benefit, and hopefully that will continue to grow. But it's not just about that. It puts Ngambie on the map. People know where Ngambie is, and what price do you put on the marketing and the advertising that comes with that? I think that this is definitely something that we would like to see continue into the future. I think the offer that's being put up is a compromise, a fair and reasonable compromise. I do respect that the staff have put a figure to us that is less than this. But conversely, the organisation has put an amount that is higher, 13,000. I think we're meeting middle ground here. We can review this in 12 months and just see how we travel with it. So I am supportive of giving an incentive for it to continue and for us to continue to assist as we can, but also keep it under review as we go forward. So I support the amendment accordingly. Thank you.
May I ask a question? I just need to get straight in my mind. The officer's recommendation is 5,500, which is the waiving of the fee to hire. In terms of this being an event, does that actual 5,000 then come out of our grant funding, or is it seen as a loss and just a waived fee in the event hire?
Refer that one to CEO Quattrocki.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. I'll give that to Director Frampton.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Yes, the money is actually reallocated via a ledger, so a journal transfer from the event funding through to the relevant income area for the Regatta Centre to offset the expenditure associated with the use. So there will be a reduction in the available event grant budget for future events.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. if I
Councillor
could, please.
Stevens.
Thank you. Through the mayor. Just clarification, the funding is from the community grants funding that we have allocated, and we put aside 75,000 for the next financial year. And that is also where community grants, like general community grants, can apply for funding up to $5,000 for other events within our shire. Is that correct?
Councillor Stevens, I'll put that through CEO Quattrocchi.
Sorry, I'm looking over there, but I should have been looking here.
Thank you.
Councillor, that is correct.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks.
Councillor Halsall.
I've just got one further question that just came up based on what Stephen's just asked. In our community funding grants, is it not a requirement that the grant come from community within the municipality?
Put that through CEO Quattrocchi.
Thank you for the question, councillor. We have a budget allocation that is coming from that budget line, but as clarified by Director Frampton, and where the money's been allocated towards the costs that are offset for that event, the working those fees, that actual event, which is a community event.
My question is actually, is there a requirement in the event policy to support events within the that applicants need to be within the community, within the municipality? That was my question.
I'll refer that for point of clarity to Director Frampton.
Councillor Halsall, through you, Mayor. Councillor Halsall, it is that there's a requirement that the event is delivered in the municipality, but the applicant doesn't necessarily need to be directly from the municipality. The other point of clarification is that as this is actually a strategic funding agreement, the same event guidelines don't necessarily are as applicable. However, councillors need to understand that the monies that support the strategic funding agreements come out of that same event grant bucket of that 75,000 that's written into the report.
Director Frampton. Councillors will now put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, Mayor, just for clarification, sorry. Does the mover get the right to reply?
There'll be an amendment.
I'll add an amendment. Okey doke.
We'll put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, so we have a 3-3 split, and I have the casting vote.
For division before you do, please, Mayor.
You do that at the end.
Oh, okay.
No, not the, it's still the amendment.
No, you can do it at, are you using your casting vote?
I'm using my casting vote in favour, so
You
the
can do it now.
amendment is carried.
Thank you. May I have a division, please?
You may.
Thank you. Those in favour?
Those in favour? Councillor Carlson, Councillor Jeffrey, Councillor Stevens. And casting vote, Councillor Jeffrey, and those against? Councillor Biggs, Councillor Holloway, and Councillor Halsall. All right, so the amended motion is now the amendment is now the substantive motion. And that was moved by Councillor Carlson. So we now have the substantive motion in play. Councillor Carlson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but I don't think any about a very wide-ranging discussion. I think that no further discussion is required.
Thank you. Councillor Stevens, would you like to speak to the
Thank
motion?
you. Just to say that I think it's great that we support this particular event. Sorry.
So can I just get some clarification? I might be muddled. The substantive motion was moved by Holloway and seconded by Councillor Halsall.
That's correct.
And so the amendment's been adopted. Do we not now revert back to Councillor Holloway as the, no?
No. The amendment is up.
Okay, so that. Oh. My apologies. This is a very different kind of process.
Thank you, councillor Stevens.
Thank you.
Carry on, please.
Thank you. Just very simply, just to sort of wind up, I think it's great that we're continuing to support this event. I think the evidence is there that it should be supported. We have put an element of financial constraint to what we've done in the past, but hopefully we can move forward and get better economic benefit out of this event and ensure that it continues to be held at the Gambia for many more years. It builds up the relationship between the organisation of APS and Rowing Victoria, who will come on board to help us with this. And it delivers significant economic benefit and tourism benefits as well as marketing to our shire. So thank you.
Thank you, councillor Stevens. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like to speak against the motion.
Councillor Binks.
Now that it's a substantive motion, I believe I can speak against it again. Is that correct, governance? Excellent. So I really question why we are funding a APS, Australian Public Schools of Victoria, $10,000 to, and in effect, the funding is the delivery of a rowing event. We're a council. We're not an events organisation. Why are we putting our officers into running a rowing event when already councillor Stevens has mentioned that the big rowing are looking to take on the actual physical running of these events, and this motion will result in our officers doing that role, which they have done, as councillor Carlson has mentioned, for many years, and possibly it's been an oversight that it hasn't been picked up previously. I think it's a real missed opportunity to kind of work out what is our role as council. Why are we delivering this for Australian public schools, which, for those that don't know, represent private schools in our community. There's many people in our community that don't have an opportunity to go to private schools for the fact that they are expensive, and they raise a lot of money for which to deliver their programs. That's fabulous. I just really question, is it our role as a council to be funding this event in the current climate? Yes, we've had an historic arrangement. I think that the officer recommendation that was put to us was a great middle ground that looked at that fee waiver, which we do for other groups that use those facilities on the peninsula in the Gambia. And I just really question why we would choose to put ourselves in that environment again. Already Councillor Halloway has said that, you know, APS are only happy with 13,000. Are they going to be unhappy with the 10,000? I mean, I just think it's become, I just really question the thinking as to why we would be doing that. I can't see the benefit to the whole of the municipality, and I can't see the benefit to putting our officers in those roles of running these rowing events when we have so many other fabulous events that impact so many more of our community members in our very own communities that they could be doing. I mean, we've got other aquatic facilities. We've got the Inland Nippers program. We've got all these other really great events, and I just really question the diversion of our staff to assist the APS to run this event, which I believe they're quite capable of doing on their own.
Councillor Binks, would any councillor like to speak for the motion?
I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay, councillor House, your motion to no. Yes. Oh, sorry, no, councillor House. Sorry, there's a governance rule here, 47.1. As you were the seconder of the original motion.
I thought we were supposed to be able to reserve our right to change our mind as we went through.
An amendment may be proposed or seconded by any councillor except the member who seconded the original motion. So my apologies. To move an amendment. Councillor Holloway.
Move an amendment?
Sorry, your original question speaking for the motion?
No, speaking to the motion.
For it. Yes, in support of it.
Thank you.
So obviously I've noted my concerns about reducing it from 13,000 to 10,000 and noting that this is funny money. 13,000, 10,000. It is the signal to this group, to Rowing Victoria, to our community, to tourists that is important, more so than the dollar figure. That having been carried down to 10,000, I will support it. Because yes, the APS Regatta involves a lot of non-residents coming and going and not spending money in our shire. It does involve some non-residents coming and spending money in our shire. It also is a headline top tier national event that is a jewel in the crown to have located in Strathbogie Shire. We must signal, and again, the dollar figure, I would have preferred 13,000, but 10,000 is fine. We must signal that we support this. And if that involves helping to deliver the event, that's what it involves. If we were to just give the fee waiver and nothing else, no in-kind support other than that, that would be a signal to the APS that we're not serious about events and tourism and Strathbogie Shire being a destination. So this is going to help put us on the map. Well, we're already on the map. It's going to help keep us on the map. We cannot go with just the fee waiver because that will tell APS that we just don't want to support this sort of endeavor in our shire. So I support it now. I think it's important that we send this signal to the community and encourage tourism.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Does any councillor who has not spoken to the motion wish to speak to the motion?
I've got just a quick question of clarification. Just going back to that funding. With this amendment, given that one is a fee waiver and one is for the provision of, well, but my understanding is that it's a contribution to or a provision of staff time. Does that mean that the remaining budget at 31,000 will drop to 21,000 for our community?
Through CEO.
Thank you for the question, councillor, and yes, you're absolutely correct. We need to rebudget that amount accordingly.
Okay, so may I speak against?
You may.
I just want us as a council just to think this through and remain open temporarily. 75,000 is the budget allocation for event grants for our entire municipality. What we're talking about is giving $10,000, which is, help me out with the math. What percentage is it? It's a lot. It's a high percentage. To a private school group or one function. What I'm really struggling with is rationalising in my mind that $10,000 ought not be put into two events like the Longwood Food and Wine Festival or another event that is hosted and delivered and attended by our community members. We have talked since we started about fiscal responsibility and sustainability and using the money wisely. And I fail to see how supporting, as the Laura alluded to, a private school system, while it is prestigious and while we are very fortunate to have a unique facility, I don't support that employee costs are a sunk cost because while they're attending the event, they're not doing their normal work. So it puts us behind. We're now chasing, people are doing overtime, people working on a weekend, I think it's a Saturday or a Sunday, then they're getting time and a half or double time as compensation. So it is a cost and it should be recognised. And I cannot justify taking $10,000 out of the community events budget to support a private school organisation. It does not make sense given our circumstances as a shire, as a council.
I have a point of order, if I may ask the chair, please. given that the amendment has become the motion,
Yeah.
and I gave my right to speak, do I have the right to wind up the debate?
Yes, you do. If we don't reply, you do not.
No.
In the substantive motion.
It's the mover of the original motion and has a right of reply for the amended motion. So that's Clark.
So that is councillor Holloway.
Doesn't make any sense. The motion he put up is now not moving.
That's the governance rules.
Yeah, well, the government rules are wrong, aren't they? Yeah.
Let's, hold that one off for another time.
Yeah.
Councillor Holloway, would you like to exercise your newly found right to reply?
Some up.
You're clearing your mind now.
I will. So the calculation of these costs, I'm not seeing how it's coming directly out of grant funding, given that some of these costs are in fact some costs. I absolutely support what Councillor Halsall is saying, that there will be overtime, there will be a certain cost, but some of these costs are notional rather than actual. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see how that comes out of grant funding if it's a notional cost. Yes, actual costs, overtime paid, absolutely, but I cannot see that. And again, I will just revert back to, this is a headline event. This is a national event. We need to signal support for it. It's a small price to pay.
Thank you, councillors. Given we've had extended debate on the item, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried.
Ask for a division, please.
Can I ask again, all those in favour? Councillor Holloway, Councillor Carlson, Councillor Jeffrey and Councillor Stevens. Very much for your enthusiastic debate.
It's them to vote against if it's a division, I think.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Those against? Councillor Binks, Councillor Halson. And I'll just remind councillors to please use the correct terminology for councillors and executive names during debate, rather than Christian names, please. All right, moving now on to page 39. Item 11.2.3, Golden Region Tourism Incorporated Memorandum of Understanding. The purpose of this report is for the council to authorise the executive officer to make any minor amendments and to sign the memorandum of understanding to support Goulburn Region Tourism as council's visitor economy partnership for the period 1st of July 2025 to the 30th of June 2029. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No. Is there a motion? Can you please state what your motion is? Councillor Carlson.
I move that the recommendation listed on page 39 be the motion.
You, Councillor Carlson. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Binks. Is the motion opposed, or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Oh, Councillor Carlson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, this is a mechanical process. The works have got to be done to initiate the creation of this organisation. We, along with Mitchell and Shepparton, I understand are the last three councils in the entire state of Victoria which are not part of the jigsaw puzzle structure, which has been part of Victoria's Motion Victoria for many decades now. And as a result, we'll be missing out on a lot of matching funding over many years. And while we will be, I think I'll defer to the Chief Executive Officer to perhaps provide some finer detail, but the amount of money we're putting in, I understand, and it's for 1 year only as a reviewed in terms of its impact and results achieved over that 12-month period. But for an investment of approximately $40,000 from our part, by the time the councils contribute and also the state government contributes dollar for dollar, or similar to that, we're talking about a budget of perhaps $500,000 or close to that in any case. So that's money that we really haven't had being spent in our region. Now, the question is, how is it going to perform in terms of the impact it actually has within our boundaries? And we don't know that yet. So the gathering and the analysis of the data will be critical over the ensuing 12 months. So this is the first step. And it's a good step to take because we're missing out for years. And just the world's been passing us by in that sense.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Councillor Binks, as second, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. Just to say that it's a really great step forward in that tourism piece for our region. As Councillor Carlson has referred to, we have been in a bit of a tourism board black hole for some time, and I know there's been an inordinate amount of work by officers, and obviously there's this whole group right across the region with Mitchell and Shepparton as well to get something up. We are a recognised tourism board, and I'm really excited about the opportunities that that's going to bring all the tourism operators within the Strathbogie Shire, and I think it's a really great way forward to see what opportunities that will bring, and the sort of the access to that state support, and therefore obviously also the federal support as well that comes in with that, sort of getting in with the puzzle, being that last little piece in the puzzle to fill out the map. So it's a really fabulous step forward, and it'll be great to see what the Goulburn Regional Tourism do as a result. I think last time we had a board, it was over 10 years ago and in quite a different time. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what comes of it in this, in the coming years when this plays out. I think it's really exciting.
Thank you. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. I think this is fabulous. At long last, we are going to be recognised, and so we should be. The Goulburn Region Tourism Incorporated was formally established as a legal entity in February 2024. Prior to that, we were in the land of no man's land. As it's been touched on, that brings us lots of benefits in relation to seeking grant opportunities, funding, and in this particular case, also a lot of marketing that will be of great benefit to us. You have to have 3 councils in the group. So we are with Shepparton, Mitchell and Strathbogie. It's interesting, we're all so different. We all have such different things to offer, but we do have a level of connectedness. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this group grabs onto that and markets that. Just to highlight the contributions, Greater City of Shepparton is initially putting up 121,000 for the first year. Strathbogie is putting up 39,000 and Mitchell Shire is putting up 75,000. Sorry, that's for the first year, and then it goes up slightly as time goes on. I think it's important that the community realise that as great as this is and as important as this is, we are here to represent and fight for Strathbogie. And we have asked for this to be reviewed. We're signing up to this for the first 12 months, and we've asked for particular data and information to come back to us to see the value dollar that it brings to Strathbogie. And I'm sure it will bring great value to us. It's just that we need that reassurance before we continue to sort of go on and commit further money. We've just heard a big conversation about committing money, and we want to know in what area we do it, we are going to get value for dollar. So thank you to the CEO, who's our representative on the board, for negotiating that on our behalf, the review, and the fact that we've got an exit clause if we think that it's not going to bring the value that we anticipate, but hopefully that won't be required. It will be interesting to see what branding they come up with, what name they come up with. We're waiting with a great anticipation to see how they're going to brand us. But regardless, hopefully it will be of benefit to Strathbogie equally to Mitchell and Shepparton. And we can really move forward because we have got so much to offer in the area of tourism. We've got the lakes, the waterways, right up to the mountains and everything in between. So I'm really excited about putting us out there to the broader community. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Halsall.
All right, I'm going to speak on fast forward.
Thanks.
What this means for Strathbogie is we will now be present in a regional book. Earlier in the year, I had cause to stay in a hotel. There was a big rack of regional tourism pamphlets, booklets, also advertising all sorts of stuff, and we were not present. So I'm supportive of Strathbogie Council participating in this regional tourism partnership so that we are actually out there. I recognise that it requires a minimum of 3 councils, and if any reason we opt out, it will fold. I'm concerned that the fees paid by each council will influence the distribution of benefit. However, for and I'm just averaging 40,000 per annum, this represents great value even just to be printed in the book. During briefings, we've learned that our CEO introduced important termination clauses, which is nice and reassuring that we actually have an exit if it doesn't suit. And also, I think her aligning the term with the state funding is also really important as well, because if there's a shortfall because the state's no longer funding it, the money will have to be made up from somewhere. We heard from the CEO of the Goulburn Regional Tourism Group, the depth within their small team, the resourceful strategies employed to keep costs down, and the success they have with the Helix platform and the support they may be able to offer our local businesses, I think is worth the investment.
Thanks, Councillor Halsall. Any other councillors? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you. I am speaking in favour of this motion. I do have severe reservations about where we are at with this. It's 3 shires that have nothing in common with each other and are disparate in terms of size, geography, everything. Pardon me. I trust our CEO to hold this group to the terms of the MOU and ensure we are receiving value for money or we exit. I'm worried that if we exit, we are going to have 2 very angry shires against us. But be that as it may, I've taken to heart that it's something we need in terms of harvesting state government grants dollars. I feel like I am a Greater Western Sydney Giants supporter in 2012. I'm hoping for the best.
Things can only get better then.
But realizing, oh God, it's going to be a long season. Yeah, we need to do it. So yeah, let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Councillor Carlson as mover, would you like to?
No, I think it's been well explored. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Given that, I'd like to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried. Moving now on to page 60, item 11.2.4, Euroa Railway Precinct Master Plan. The purpose of this report is for Council to adopt the Euroa Railway Precinct Master Plan October 2025. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No, is there a motion? And please can you state what your motion is? Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that the motion would be listed in 2 parts on page 60, please.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Pinks. Is the motion opposed, or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Opposing?
No. Speak.
Okay, councillor Carlson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Briefly, Mr. Mayor, yes, I mean, this is a schematic design. And it's quite clear in the agenda. This, it'll be subject to significant funds being accessed. This is not the final word. The opening sentence in a discussion that's going to be held over many years on many different issues, but at least this is the starting point where people can view what is possible, could happen. But I'm sure it's going to be very much substantially changed when and if it ever comes to completion. The bottom line is that we don't know how much money is being spent, to be honest, down at the ARTC, but it's now getting up to some serious money. It's an enormous investment, and it's the biggest investment in Europe for 60 years, I'd say, by a long way. And this is the ongoing result of that project being created in the middle of our town.
Thank you. Councillor Bex, would you like to speak to the motion or reserve your right?
Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. I shall speak to the motion. Yeah, just following on from councillor Carlson, I think it's, like it so often, governments come up with funding streams and they want to know what have you got that's shovel ready or what have you got in your plans. And I think having a document like this that talks to, whilst it might not be, highly detailed, we're certainly at that stage that we can explore further options as and when those grant opportunities come forward. And I think that's a really critical thing. I know that it's it might feel a little like pie in the sky and hopeful, and we're not going to get all this at the end when Inland Rail roll down the tracks and continue on their construction journey. It's not going to look like this, but at least we have a really clear plan as to where we want to head to and sort of the direction we're going in for that revitalised railway precinct that we're going to end up with in Euroa. And I just, I really want to thank, I know that the council officers and the consultants that helped us with this worked really closely with the community over many sessions to get their feedback and input into this process and what it might look like. And I think that it's been a really great, I think it's disrespectful if you're going to keep making remarks from the floor. That's not why you're here. And I would ask.
Just carry on.
And I would like to thank those that participated in it and that the officers supported those participating to get this outcome, because I think it's a really great result for our community, and I think that we'll see some really fabulous projects down the track.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bex. Would other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. Just referring to some notes in the document. Strathbogie Shire Council received funding from the state government to develop this master plan, the precinct master plan for this area. And that's to build on the significant investment that Inland Rail has already put into the Euroa railway and station area to improve connectivity, access and movement to and from the railway precinct. Council endorsed public consultation on the draft master plan. As Councillor Biggs has said, there was consultation. It was out there for 4 weeks, from the 16th of July 2025 until the 13th of August 2025. During that time, 2 public informations were held. On Monday, the 28th of July, attended by approximately 60 community members, which is a very good representation of community consultation. Council received 56 contributions and received, as well as receiving valuable feedback, which has been used to inform this master plan. So there was considerable consultation on this. And as Councillor Carlson has said, this is not the end of it. This is just the very start of it. So there will be more opportunities for the community to work with us as we move forward. This part of town is going to change significantly. And we want to make it so that it changes for the better for the community. And we want the community to come along with us and have significant input into that to get the best outcomes possible. So we, as Councillor Binks has said, one of the distinct advantages of getting this work done is that when grant opportunities come up, we are going to be able to put something forward and try and secure funding to keep progressing this, because a lot of money is going to be needed and Strathbogie Council is not going to have that money. Our money is ratepayers' money and we've got a lot of other things we have to do with that money. But that does not take away the significance of planning for the future and our opportunity of maximising any funding source we can get. So that's why this work is really important. So thank you to those that did attend those information sessions and took the time to give us those 56 feedback contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Any other councillors like to talk to the motion? Councillor House.
While this master plan does incorporate our identified community needs, it is a plan, and I've taken some means to really understand that it is a plan and that there is absolutely time for further work. My concerns are still with the location of RV parking in the centre median in Railway Street. I agree that this is one of the most significant opportunities to shape the streetscape for Euroa in a generation. I'd like to see council working with our Euroa community in the same way Avenel Crossing is being supported to maximise the community benefit. I'm so concerned about the outcomes that we'll be left with when Inland Rail moves out that I took myself for a drive to Glenrowan to view a completed Inland Rail project. I struck up a conversation with a few locals. The local in particular described himself as a professional road user. He was a truck driver. He described the bridge, even though it is open, airy, creates a great kind of streetscape and has got a little park and a really great information centre. He described the bridge as dangerous, particularly because it's on a detour route and it's got single-use drivers using it. He said that he can't stop a B-double at the bottom of the bridge, and actually at the bottom of the bridge is where the main road through Glenrowan goes. So the ability to stop a truck at an intersection on the thoroughfare of a town is actually really important. And so I share this just so that we, in our building of relationships with partners, that we stay on track to support our community, the infrastructure usage as it goes on, because it is the legacy that we're going to be left with. And I absolutely fundamentally believe that it needs to serve the purpose and do it safely. And in that instance for Glenrowan, that truck driver using that bridge described it as unsafe. And I don't want that for Euroa.
Thanks, Councillor House. Would anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Carlson, as mover.
Yeah, just briefly, we are having I understand we are having a on-site meeting next week, which will illuminate us to some extent. And Councillor House's those sort of concerns can be raised, I'm sure. But I think they're two quite different projects. So I don't know. I haven't seen Glenrowan, but quite obviously the scales involved are quite significant. So I wouldn't really read too much into that at this stage. For no further comment.
Thanks, Councillor Carlson. In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Before we move on to the next item, I'd just like to remind the public gallery, please, to ensure you respect our councillors, executive and public debate. In further interruptions, I'll be asking you to leave the meeting. Please bear that in mind. Moving now on to page 105, item 11.2.5, community flag flying policy and procedures. The purpose of this report is for council to adopt the community flag flying procedure. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No?
There is.
Oh, there is. Sorry, yeah, I didn't. Councillor Halsell. Is it you? Councillor Hudson, do you have your hand up?
No. No. I don't have a question, but
Stevens, do you have a question?
yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Mayor, I would like to move a motion, please, that this item be deferred to a future date.
Does anyone else have questions or clarifications before we get to the motion? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. I would like to move an alternate recommendation as a motion that this item be deferred to a future date, please.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Holloway. Councillor Stevens, in that case, would like to speak to.
I will just give my reasoning if I may.
Yes.
Thank you. I just believe that there's additional work that needs to be done in relation to this particular policy. And additional information has certainly come into my being by making some inquiries. And I think it would be a benefit to staff and to councillors if we had some more time to work on this particular policy, please.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. We'll now put this motion to a vote.
Is there a second, the second has a
Sorry, the second, Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I fully support deferring it because I think there are gray areas in this policy that need much more work before they're endorsed by council. I'll just name a couple, and I'm quoting directly. Requests for flag that are associated with religious, political, or extremist groups or those which incite unrest or ill feeling within the community will not be considered. Just taking the first part, religious. So by that logic, the Smith family, non-religious, could fly a flag, but the Salvos couldn't. Habitat for Humanity could fly a flag, but Anglican Overseas Aid couldn't. Red Cross could fly a flag, but Vinnie's couldn't. This is arbitrary, and it leaves it to a council officer to make a decision that is not clear cut, possibly based on emotion rather than a political, a policy fact. Secondly, and I'll quote directly, the proposed flag must promote respect for all and embrace a sense of belonging and enhance community life. Now, this also is ripe for fostering disagreement. Would the LGBTQ flag meet this criteria? Would the McGraw Foundation flag meet this criteria? Would Free Palestine meet this criteria? How about Eureka Stockade? How about an Australian Army flag on Anzac Day? Lions Club, is that okay? Freemasons, is that okay? All of this is a gray area that this policy does not differentiate with and leads to a value judgment by a particular council officer on a particular day. It needs a lot of work, this policy, before it comes to this change.
Councillor Holloway. The motion is to defer this item. Does anyone oppose the motion? Then I'll now put this motion to a vote.
I wish to amend the motion. I wish to amend the motion to include 11.4.6, as I believe the flags
Are we talking about the second?
independent, I believe.
Item on the agenda.
It's a separate item.
Yes.
I don't think
Can they be done at the same time?
No, we can't because it would change. So
Okay.
we are debating.
No worries.
And so I put this.
Can I speak to the?
Earl.
For the deferral. Deferral.
I just want to make a comment that, surprise, that we're a little bit confused. And that's fair enough because it's the simplest issue sometimes can become very complicated. It's no reflection on the officers whatsoever. It looks simple, but it's simply not. I mean, There's been a lot of fighting done over flags over the years. And we just have to take a bit of time to really quietly think this through and get it as right as we can possibly get it. Because no matter what we do, there will be some criticism somewhere along the line. That's fine. But quite obviously at the moment, we're not comfortable with where we are at the moment. We want to take some time to really have a good long house. So we recognise the work that's been done, but it's just that more work has to be done.
Thank you, councillor Carlson. I will now put the motion to defer this item to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Now moving to page 119. Item 11.2.6, variations and grants approved under CEO delegation November 2025. The purpose of this report is to inform council and the community of community grants or variations approved under delegation by the Chief Executive Officer or relevant director as per council's community funding model for the period 1st of November to 30th of November 2025. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No. Is there a motion, and can you please state what your motion is, councillor Halson?
I wish for the recommendation on page 119 to become the motion.
Thank you, councillor Halson. Can you have a second? Councillor Carlson. Is the motion opposed, or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? No. In that case, councillor Halson.
Briefly, I just wanted to say that the Avenel Tennis Club will be the recipient of $973 to fund the purchase of 4 pickleball nets. I look forward to attending a pickleball event because I have no idea what pickleball is, but I've heard of it recently and it's sort of gaining popularity. So look out, Olympics. We're off to pickleball.
Thanks, councillor Halson. Councillor Carlson, the second.
I think I'm not quite sure what the delegated authority of the CEO is. I think it's over $500,000. So it just says this figure of $973 gives an indication of how much detail. Nothing further. It's housekeeping.
Thank you. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving now to page 123, item 11.3.1, firewood risk report. The purpose of the report is to outline the key risks associated with the firewood program within the Strathbogie Shire. Councillor, is there any questions or clarification before we proceed? No. Is there a motion, and can you please state what your motion is? Councillor Holloway.
I move that council note the report.
Councillor Holloway. Can we have a seconder? Councillor Binks. Is the motion opposed, or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First thing is I want to commend the officers for this report. It's a good report. I fully support the motion to note as a first step to a way forward on the issue. It's not the end of the issue. And I'd just like to make a few other clarifying comments. First, just to note the confusion and concern in the community around the discontinuation around permitting roadside fire collection several years ago. There was a process in place and it was discontinued. It's not that the fact that it was discontinued that is problematic. It is that it was discontinued as a unilateral operational decision with no community consultation, no motion at council meeting, and no information campaign afterwards affected, leaving the community in the dark. This is a strategic issue, both in terms of the act of discontinuing a service to the community, and in terms of strategic risks that needed to be considered and were not at the time. Second, briefly, after the fact solution to guide residents to DECA nominated sites could have been disastrous. The sites were far in distance population centers. Most of them were not actually in the Shire. I personally inspected 2 of them. I found one extremely dangerous on a 4-wheel drive only track with no firewood. And I found the other one, the site where a planned burn had just been done just a few months before, again, resulting in no firewood. So we were directing people into the forest to find no firewood and possibly to find danger. My last comment is that council is not in the business of managing firewood distribution, and we shouldn't be. We are in the business of ensuring that vulnerable members of our community are protected to the best of our ability. We shouldn't be repeating the same mistakes and leaving the community in the dark as we move forward to next winter and a possible solution to this issue. And we should be maintaining a risk and evidence-based approach with whatever solution we do go with. So this report is a solid first step in the right direction, and I fully supported the work that was done and commend staff for the work that was done. We need to keep the community front of mind as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. Councillor Binks, as a seconder, would you like to speak, or is it?
Just briefly to thank the officers for the report and the noting nature of it. I think there's, that weighing all options and reputational risk. I mean, there's obviously they've explored various options there. In particular, this line stands out to me. Community sentiment is an important factor in decision making, but it must be balanced against council's duty to act responsibly and within its legislative framework.
Yeah. Any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Elson.
I'm frustrated with the condition of roadsides. I'm frustrated with the lack of consideration of native fauna and road safety. I'm frustrated with the inability to facilitate roadside firewood collection. My logic says identify roads, collect fallen timber, support community residents with firewood, and increase road safety. I would like to see strategies considered that include pressure on the state to support roadside cleanup. They have a Vision Zero road safety strategy in play right now. Surely it should include decreasing native fauna to the roads. Animals don't abide by our routes, and the focus at the moment is on reducing our speed limits. Now, some of the people that come up with these strategies just astound me. When I went to that the roads forum, the focus was on reducing speed limits, like it was the solution to Vision Zero and road fatalities, with zero consideration for the random nature of kangaroos, of wombats, of possums, of the soft nature of drivers wanting to preserve the life of an animal and swerving. I can't understand why we can't put together a strategy or advocate for community safety on roads and find a way to enable firewood collection. It doesn't stand to reason to me. In Macedon, they've been able to put it to the state in a submission for road safety, thinking about the safety of the animals. Why haven't we captured the opportunity or taken the opportunity to put in a submission for roadside management, thinking that we are in fact improving road safety by managing? We've also got the risk of fire, and where you go now, where you drive, it's like a fire channel along roadsides. The fire load along, canopies and undergrowth, is that what it's called? The undergrowth along the roads is Yeah, and it also is impacting on driver vision. So when you pull out of a driveway, when you pull out of a road, we've got rural roads, you turn left or right, you can't see because we can't touch native vegetation. I just feel like this idealism has gone crazy.
Councillor Halsall, any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Councillor Carlson.
Just briefly, look, I concur with Councillor Holloway's comments about the manner in which this issue was dealt with some years ago before we arrived. That was unfortunate. But the challenge is real for a whole lot of reasons, and they're listed quite clearly here. Whether we can actually resolve this issue to the satisfaction of the community, I don't know. Simply don't know at this stage, but we are sort of trying to work through the process. I mean, the harsh reality is there are people in Melbourne who probably think that the way to solve the road toll is to just ban cars. I mean, there's so far off the rails, it's just beyond, it's just, you know, most people who would be making, and then about lowering the speed limits, that's all they're saving money. That's all it is. They're just trying to lower the cost of maintaining a road basically falling apart. That's probably a bit cynical, but it looks like a duck and looks like a duck to me. It's a duck. So
That's the customer just need to focus on the
I'm sorry.
risk report.
It's something that's quite challenging that 10 years ago was very easy to do. And they've created an enormous number of obstacles as a council for us to deal with this. But we go in with good intent, but I really don't know whether or not there's a resolution to all of this. It's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Would any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Holloway, as the mover, would you like to exercise a right of reply?
I would, and all I want to say is this report is a very solid first step in a process. I want to completely validate the concerns that Councillor Halsall raised. I support what you were saying, Councillor Halsall. That's a step for the future to consider that. But at the time being, we're considering the firewood risk report. It was well done. I think we need to note it and then move forward into solution mode later.
Thank you, Councillor Holloway. With that being the case, now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion's carried. Now to page 130, item 11.4.1. Determine 2026 council meeting dates. Purpose of the report is for council to determine the date and time of council meetings to be held from January 2026 to December 2026. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No. Is there a motion, and can you state what your motion is, please? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. My motion is as per the recommendation on page 130, has two dot points. The council adopt the schedule of council meetings for 2026 as contained within this report. And the second point is publish the details of the council meeting schedule on council website. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Can I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Carlson. Is the motion opposed, or does anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Stevens.
No, as per the report. It's just administrative, setting the dates for council for the next 12 months.
Councillor Carlson.
Nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
In that case, put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried. Councillors, we now move to item 11.4.2 on page 133. Information Communication and Technology Strategy 2026. The purpose is for council to adopt the Information Communication and Technology Strategy 2026 to 2028. Councillors, are there any questions or clarification? Councillors, is there a motion? And can you state what your motion is? Councillor Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopt the Information Communication and Technology Strategy 2026-28.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Could I have a second for that motion, please? Councillor Halsall. Is the motion opposed? Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Holloway? Do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a solid, information-rich strategy, and I think it speaks for itself. What I would like to just say is I've worked in a lot of organizations with a lot of IT departments, and I've been in active wars with about half of them. I have very high standards for information technology, and I want to say this Shire has the best IT department I have ever had the pleasure of working with. It crafted a very rich, good strategy here. Fully support it, stands on its own merit.
Thank you very much, councillor Holloway. Councillor Halsall?
Suffice to say that our IT department is very, very helpful, as well as being very good at writing an IT strategy. So, and I thank them at this time.
Is any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving along now to page 153, item 11.4.3, appointment of community representative to Goulburn Valley Regional Library Corporation. Purpose of this report is that council endorse the appointment of Stephen Martin as the community representative for Strathbogie Shire Council on the board of Goulburn Valley Libraries. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? Is there a motion? And can you please state what your motion is? Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the council endorse the appointment of Stephen Martin as the community representative for the Strathbogie Shire Council on the board of Goulburn Valley Libraries.
Thank you, councillor Carlson. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Holloway. Motion opposed. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Carlson, do you wish to speak to the motion? No.
Yeah, just briefly, Stephen's a replacement for our previous representative who had to go on to bigger and better things and had other things to do. We all, of course, know Stephen from the campaign 12 months ago, and he's very excited to be involved. And he's had glowing references, and I'm sure he's going to make a great contribution to the board when he arrives next year.
Thank you, councillor Carlson. Councillor Holloway.
Only to note that I fully support my colleague, Councillor Carlson, who sat on this selection committee. I'm sure that this candidate will be best.
Thank you. Does any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Stevens.
Just very quickly to say thank you very much to Councillor Carlson and Director Tingay for working through this on our behalf with the board. And I also agree, having met Stephen, that I think he's going to be a fabulous representative for us. So I look forward to hearing more about it. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Councillors, we now move to item 11.4.4 on page 157. Councillor staff interaction policy. The purpose of this report is for council to adopt the councillor staff interaction policy. Councillors, are there any questions or clarification before we proceed? Is there a motion, and can you state what your motion is? Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. I'd like to move a motion as is written in the recommendation on page 157 of our agenda this evening.
Thank you. Can I have a second to that motion, please? Councillor Carlson. Is the motion opposed? Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? No. Councillor Binks, would you like to speak as the mover?
Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. Yeah, this is a really fairly straightforward, I would say, and important policy. We know that the Local Government Act steps out really clear guidelines around how council council laws are to interact with various staff, and I think having a policy is a absolutely critical part of that suite of documents that help us do our job and keep us in our lane. So I think it's really great policy.
Councillor Bengals, Councillor Carlson, do you wish to speak?
Oh, the reflection of the modern world, isn't it? I mean, the good old days, you're not allowed to go in there on staff anymore. But we are moving forward. So it's just keeping us up with what's going on in the real world. You have to have respectful and understand, as Councillor Bing said, stay in the laneways. What's appropriate, what's not appropriate, and it's pretty basic stuff, but it's sometimes not hard to forget. So we really have to work at it all the time and keep it in front.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Does any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving along now to page 173, item 11.4.5, Councillor Professional Development Policy. The purpose of this report is for council to adopt the Councillor Professional Development Policy. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification? Is there a motion? And can you please say what your motion is? Councillor Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the recommendation on page 173 in points 1 and 2 be the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stevens. Is the motion opposed, or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Carlson.
Well, it's our responsibility to ensure that we undertake this training, and we had some just recently, which has been very professional and very beneficial, I'm sure, to everyone who with us. And once again, it's the ability and the understanding of what your role is and how to carry out your role for the maximum benefit. We're all here trying to do the right thing by the communities, and we don't always get it right, to be sure, but having a standard such as this assists us in dealing with the issues in terms of priorities and importance. And it's, being distracted by things that are just that distracted is a real problem in governance circles, and keeping all this stuff front of mind is very important.
Thank you, Councillor Carlson. Councillor Stevens is seconded. Do you want to speak to the motion?
Thank you. I think there's two things that we constantly need to remind ourselves of to be good councillors. There are many things, but there are two in particular. One is we have to keep in touch with our community and be relevant to our community and listen to our community and be able to speak with knowledge to make informed decisions when we're speaking on their behalf and about matters that affect them. The other thing is we need to continually learn and evolve as to how we work within local government. And we need to develop our skills and our learnings and our knowledge base. And this is what this is all about. I see this as really important. We give an undertaking to continue to learn and to keep our relevance as we get lost. I think this is a really important policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? No, councillor, put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving to page 183, item 11.4.6, civic flag flying policy. The purpose of this report is for council to adopt the civic flag flying policy. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? Councillors, can I have a motion and please, and state what your motion is? Councillor Holloway, I think was first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council defer the civic flag flying policy until a future date.
Thank you, councillor.
Sorry, excuse me, defer adoption of the civic flag flying policy until a future date.
Councillor Holloway, can I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Stevens. Is the motion opposed, or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Holloway, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, very briefly. I have less grief with this policy than with the community, but there's still some critical areas of vagueness that need to be tightened up before this policy is adopted. Specifically, where is it?
Just as a reminder, councillor Holloway, we're speaking to why we're the motion, which is why we're deferring.
Yeah, we don't have to go.
Why we're deferring it.
Value.
Is it the fact that there's vagueness in it, the reason for deferral? We don't speak to it?
Well, further consideration, I'll be honest.
Yeah,
Well, I'll just leave it at that. There's areas that need to be tightened up. We need more time, therefore we need to defer this.
thank you, councillor Holloway. Councillor Stevens, would you like to?
No, I think councillor Holloway's covered it, thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors that wish to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to page 191, item 11.4.7, Audit and Risk Committee Charter. The purpose of this report is to adopt the Audit and Risk Charter. Are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No. Is there a motion? And can you please state what your motion is, councillor Holloway?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopt the audit and risk charter as attached to this report with officers to make minor administrative changes as required.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Binks. The motion opposed. Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Holloway is the mover. Would you like to speak to the motion?
I'll be very brief. We've just deviated from the recommendation because there are a few typographical errors within this report that officers need to tidy up. It's a solid charter. It has been considered by the Audit and Risk Committee. I have no concerns with it, other than, as mentioned, a few typographical errors.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Councillor Binks, a seconder.
Briefly to say it's an important charter to make sure that the Audit and Risk Committee performs its functions and they do a great job. So I'm all in favour.
Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No, in that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving now to page 209. Item 11.4.8, confirmation of minutes, Audit and Risk Committee meeting, 5th of September 2025. The purpose of this report is for council to confirm the minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on 5th of September 2025. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification? No. Councillors, is there a motion, and can you please state what your motion is? Councillor Holloway.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the recommendation on page 209 of the papers be the motion.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Seconder. Councillor Carlson. Is the motion opposed? Does any councillor wish to speak to the motion?
Can I ask a question?
Some clarification. Councillor Halsall.
Can you second a motion, the minutes of a meeting you didn't attend?
Motion to.
It's receiving the minutes. It's basically note.
Would you confirm the minutes?
That's the CEO, please.
Question for you, Mayor, and thank you for the question. You were actually just acknowledging and noting.
CEO. Councillor Holloway. Would you like to speak to the motion as a mover?
Yes, just briefly, I did attend this meeting and these minutes are a painfully accurate rendition of that 3-hour meeting. So yes, no concerns with the minutes as they are.
Thank you, councillor Holloway. Councillor Carlson, seconded. Would you like to speak to the motion?
I'm absolutely confident they're absolutely, including the spelling too.
Thank you, councillor Carlson. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? No, in that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving now to page 242, item 11.4.9, record of informal meeting of councillors, November 2025. The purpose of this report is for council to note the record of informal meetings of councillors from the 1st November 2025 to 30th of November 2025. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? No. Is there a motion? And can you please state what your motion is? Councillor Stevens.
Thank you. My motion is as per the recommendation that council note the record of informal meetings of councillors from the 1st of November 2025 to the 30th of November 2025.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Carlson. Opposed, or does any councillor wish? Councillor Stevens is moved.
Just as per the report, once again, I have said in the past that if you want to know what the councillors are up to, what they're discussing, who they're receiving presentations from, etc., this is a great report. I won't go into all the detail, but I do recommend it.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Councillor Carlson, the second. Would you like to speak to it?
Nothing to add. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? In that case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Moving now to page 249, item 11.5.1, biannual community report, incorporating 2025 to 29 council plan action plan update. This report is for council to note the biannual community report, July 2025 to December 2025. Councillors, are there any questions of clarification before we proceed? Is there a motion, and can you please state what your motion is? Councillor Binks.
Thank you. Mayor Jeffrey, sorry, my just a little whoop. I would like to move a motion as is recommended as is written in the recommendation on page 249 of our agenda this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Binks. Can I have a seconder for that motion, please? Councillor Holloway. Is the motion opposed, or does any councillor wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Binks.
Thank you, Mayor Jeffrey. Yeah, I think it's just a great little report back to the community. Dedicated to transparency as as a council group and as is the whole organisation, and that sort of accountability and open communication is really critical. So this is a fabulous snapshot of a biannual report. It is briefer than our annual reports, and I think that's to be expected. And it just sort of highlights what's been up to for the last little while, and I think it's great. So I recommend the community check it out.
Thank you. Councillor Holloway, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I would briefly like to echo his comments, say this is a nice slick report. It's not too long, and yet it contains some great information that avid members of the community would like to receive. It's well laid out. It's a good communications piece.
Thank you. Do any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Halson.
The council plan is actually a really important document, and it informs community and directs council, the organisation, as to how we wish to fund or spend the budget, I guess. What I would say is that there's a lot of work that goes into creating the plan, to managing the plan, to ticking off the plan, to writing the reports. Governance in particular work very hard. Other departments do. When you're speaking, you forget the names of the departments. Community and planning and sustainable infrastructure, all of their objectives and where they're focusing on is derived by and directed by this particular document, what they've achieved to date. And so It communicates with the community and definitely convinces the community that action is being taken. Thank you, and thank you to the officers for your work.
Thank you, councillor Hassel. I'd also like to add that this report, it forms part of a suite of reports that have been implemented in the last 12 months since we were elected, and they speak directly to our values of integrity, accountability and transparency, and that's about ensuring that the community can see the work of the organisation of the council and what is being achieved. So I commend this report. I'm excited to aid in refining and improving that over the next period. That being said, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried. Thank you. Now moving on to page 288. Item 12, notices of motion. There are none. Item 13, notices of precision. Item 14, confidential business. There's none. Item 15, urgent business. There is none. The next meeting of Strathbogie Shire Council will be held on the 17th of February, 2026. There being no further business, the meeting closed at 6:11 p.m. Thank you.